a bit weird doing this because I've been trying my hand at TikTok. So make sure that you like, follow and subscribe so you don't miss out on amazing content. So on this video, instead of talking about my move, I wanted to talk about self-love, because obviously everyone's been talking about it and mentioning it, and I think I was up to a point myself when I had therapy and I was like, what is self-love? How do you go about it? Not gonna lie, I actually thought it was like a hippie kind of thing. I didn't really find it it just wasn't normalized, and especially in like the South Asian, Indian, North Indian communities and stuff, self-love is not normalized. And I do think that's a bit sad, because obviously we're in a more of a modernized world where now that, like, whether it's through TikTok, whether it's through Instagram, you do see a lot of self-love and things like that, which is promoted a lot more, which is such a good thing. So you can choose to make your, let's say, your Instagram page and things like that to be more catered to promoting self-love, and kind of seeing it more everywhere now. But the thing that I wanted to talk about was kind of my journey and how I started, and just like tips and tricks of how you could go about it and what you can do. So my journey on self-love sounds so hippified, doesn't it? But it's not. My journey on self-love kind of happened, I guess, around about March time, as you guys heard about my lockdown story and things like that. If you're up to date, if not, go and watch my lockdown video, then come back and I'll see you here. So basically where it started was kind of, I was like, so I was told by my therapist, I was told by a lot of people, you need to love yourself, and I was like, how do I love myself? Like, how do I go about it? What do I do? So I started looking into stuff, kind of looking into books, kind of clearing out my Instagram page. I will link some pages down below, or if you just look at my Instagram, Mannmol's Motivation, you'll find some pages that I follow or put up on my story as a highlight, which will be good pages to follow and look at kind of self-love. So in terms of the way I started obviously clearing out my Instagram page. I started researching it, like I actually wanted to know what is self-love. I think I resorted to podcasts actually. Isabel Procasio, I think. Sorry if I've said her name wrong. But she's really good about women, self-love, and regardless of whether you're a man or a woman, I think it's really important to self-love, because it shows numerous of things. It shows that you value yourself, it shows that you appreciate yourself, and it shows that you're confident in yourself and that you value yourself just as a person as a whole. Like, for instance, there's so many downfalls of if you don't value yourself. For instance, like, if you don't love yourself and things like that, you do see that, and you do see that across people. For instance, like, when I didn't love myself and appreciate myself, you saw that immediately, a mile off, because I used to be very, like, in my negative aura, or just negative. Like, I used to stink off negativity. I used to put myself down, and if anyone paid me a compliment, I'd be like, shut up, no, never. I always just kind of fight them on it instead of accepting the compliment. I know that we're all awkward at accepting compliments. Instead of saying thank you, I used to be like, no, you're prettier, you're this, you're that. And I used to have such a defense mechanism. It was so bad. After that, like, I'm still learning, don't get me wrong. I'm not in that place where I'm like, I completely love myself and appreciate myself. Like, you have to realize it takes layers and layers, and it takes time and time to see what facet of self-love you have to work on, whether it's self-worth, whether it's just looking at yourself in a kinder way, in a more prettier way. I think I came to my self-realization not just by counselling. It was one day in my old place where I literally was like looking at myself in the mirror. Like, I walked past myself and looked back. It looked like such a movie thing, but it wasn't. I literally stared at myself. I had my grey hairs, my hair was a mess, I was wearing my baggy shirt, and I literally looked so tired and worn out. And do you know, as weird as it sounds, and I was very skeptical of this, but when you have your alone time, you have to kind of look at yourself and be like, okay, well, kind of talk to yourself, I guess. Not like, mirror, mirror on the wall, do I look pretty at all? Not that. It was more the fact that when you look at yourself, you kind of see, like, I saw how worn down, how tired I was, how, like, obviously that wasn't my pretty moment, but, there's more to life. Like, self-love is not about feeling pretty, always dolling up. You need to appreciate yourself, even on your down days or your happy days, like down days, happy days, depressed days. Whatever life chucks at you, you need to love and appreciate yourself for that. But back to the story, because I'm going on a tangent. In that moment, I looked at myself and I kind of thought to myself, I look so worn down. I was like, no matter what life chucks at me, I've always managed to get back up, be resilient. Whether it's losing a job, whether it's starting all over again from scratch, I've always managed to appreciate myself and pick myself back up. And that's what I appreciate myself by. Like, you think about it, you can also kind of name yourself, I guess, in a way. Like, what do I project? For me, I love the word warrior, and I do believe that I resonate with that word, because every time, any battle I've been through in my life, whether it's like depression, mentally, physically, just being damn right tired and sick and tired of life, I know that I somehow, with the grace of God, I managed to pick up my courage, pick up my strength, muster it from somewhere and bounce back up, because I don't want to give up on myself. That is also a form of self-love. Like, I never knew there was so many ways of self-love. Like, also through self-discipline, that's a form of self-love. Me and self-discipline do have a bit of a bumpy ride, but I'm learning to get better at it. I started listening to meditation that kind of motivated me a bit more and guided me on that self-love journey and discipline journey. Like, there's so many facets, like I've said, of self-love. It's not a straightforward thing. It's not that one day you're going to wake up and you're going to be like, yeah, I love myself and it's all hunky-dory. It's the way you look at yourself. You have to learn to be kind to yourself. Like, things that I've seen that's helped, like tips and tricks, let's move on to that, is like moving your body, exercise, eating healthily. Like, I'm still learning that. I do eat my junk food. Eating healthily, sleeping on time. I still have a hate and love relationship with that, but I still try. Obviously, we know when you have anxiety, depression, all these things are very, very difficult. But when you start trying and taking the step in the right way, you have to appreciate yourself and you have to give yourself credit. Like, moving on to the next point, you have to know when to appreciate when you've tried. If you don't appreciate your tries or your fails, who else is going to appreciate it? No one. You have to give yourself that respect. You need to give yourself that love. Self-love is also cutting out toxic people. People that don't, resonate with you in the same way. People that don't respect you. Learning when to say no, that's another form of self-love. Also, writing positive affirmations that resonate with you and that help you, that's another way of helping and promoting that self-love. I know it's difficult to look at yourself, especially when, like, I've been there when I've looked at myself and I've hated, I mean the word hated, seeing what I've seen in the mirror, and that was very, very painful. Like, I had acne when I was younger, so every time I looked in the mirror, I hated myself. I didn't like it. I was like, why can't I be pretty like the other girls? Why can't I have pretty skin like the other girls? That's also another form of self-love. Is stop comparing yourself to everyone. You need to just compare yourself to you. How have I improved? What do I need to improve? Like, self-love is so many facets. It's physical and emotional aspects. Aspects. Eating healthily, as I said, sleeping on time, learning to exercise, learning to take a break and learn how to recharge when you need to. That's a form of self-care and self-love. Like, if you love yourself and appreciate yourself, yes, I'm all about going and getting your grind. I'm also about, like, earning your money, getting top, becoming a businessman or businesswoman that you want, having a successful life. That's all great. But you have to do it in moderation. You have to learn when to take a break, take a minute, because at the end of the day, you could go head on, like steaming, full on ahead, but however, you're going to burn yourself out, and then you're going to feel shit because, I don't know if I could swear, but hey ho, you're going to feel shit about, like, doing what you're doing, because you're not going to be doing it anymore. You're going to be sitting in bed, depressed, and you're going to be like, well, I failed at that, and that's not the case. But another reason why you need to learn to love yourself is, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a workplace, whether it's anything, right? Let me give you an example, right? if you don't value yourself or love yourself, right? You could go into an interview, yeah. An interview requires for you to sell yourself and speak highly of yourself. If you can't do that in an interview, how are you going to win the job? How are you going to tell someone that I'm perfect at a job? How are you going to say these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses, this is what I need to work on? I'm special, I'm great because X, Y, and Z. Even in a relationship, right? Whether if a girl's confident or if a man's confident, you will resonate towards that because you're like, oh crap, she loves herself, she appreciates herself. I want to be with that person, not the person that puts themselves down all the time. Like, I cannot tell you how much it annoys me when someone puts themselves down because I'm like, I can see how amazing you are. I just want to shake you and tell you how amazing you are. Like, you know, whether it's talents, whether it's things like, you know, it's all about trial and error. You have to find out what works for you in your form of self-love. Self-love is personal to you. It's not, you know, oh, here's a journal of self-love. Everything's going to work out for you. And this is the same handbook that goes for everyone else. No, that's not how it works, unfortunately. Actually, scratch that. Fortunately, because at the end of the day, self-love needs to be tailored to you. There's so many things like online these days. There's self-love meditation that you can sleep and listen to at night. There's also self-love yoga. Self-love could also be simple as, like, for instance, let's say that you were in bed all day and stuff like that, but you've tried and you've got up. That's a form of self-love, that you're trying. You're not giving up on yourself. Another form of self-love is, okay, when you feel great and you feel great unapologetically. Like, you'll be like, yes, I feel damn great. Self-love is what you feed your brain. So, for instance, if you're feeding your brain junk, it's like when you eat junk food, right? It takes a negative effect on your body. Same as when what you watch and what you read is what you consume, and that can have a negative effect. For instance, like, I remember I used to watch all these like programs where like comparing girls that are skinny, pretty, thin, and you know, there's nothing wrong with your body and your weight, because that's what makes you special. Like, that's why there's so many bodies, whether it's guys, girls. You learn to appreciate yourself. Like, another thing of self-love is when you look in the mirror and you actually love yourself. You're actually like, damn, I look good today, and I don't feel ashamed of saying that. Or, you know, when you're feeling yourself and you're like, yes. Or, you know, self-love is when you get up and dance around and you feel good. Finding your own positive affirmations. There's so many ways. Like, self-love is such a broad topic. So when you go and start searching for your self-love, you do feel like, oh my God, it's a lot to take in. And you feel like, which way do I turn? Where am I going to go from here? What am I going to do? But like, it is hard. I'm not going to lie. It is very hard. Some days you're going to be crying and you're going to be like, I can't do this. Other days you're going to feel like, I'm so glad that I've started to take that step towards appreciating myself and valuing myself. You know, at the end of the day, self-love is not, it's not an easy thing. And I say that again and again, it's not an easy thing. I remember when, like, there was days when I just was like, I don't want to do it. What's the point? But self-love has such an impact. It has an impact your relationship with yourself, firstly, your relationship with your friends, your family, everyone. Because at the end of the day, you think about it, if you don't love and value yourself, it's going to affect all your relationships. Whether you're like, let me give you an example. Let me tell you. In my previous relationship, I did not love myself. I did not value myself. I literally was searching for that love in my ex. I was literally like so dependent, so clingy. Obviously, I was going through my anxiety and stuff. There was other factors. But I did not love myself. One thing I could say, he used to be like, love yourself. I was like, how? You're meant, like, my mindset was so, like, I laugh at it now, looking back at it. But I was like, hang on a minute, you're meant to love me. I don't need to love myself. But then I realised, actually, hang on a minute, I do. Because I realised that void, that gap I felt, he wasn't going to fill it. And I could jump from one relationship to another, but I would still have that gap if I didn't appreciate myself and love myself. And I'm talking about appreciating yourself, exercising for yourself, eating well, investing in good things, doing good things. And also knowing what you're worth and what you deserve. So for instance, self-love is also not settling for less. For instance, if you know a girl or a guy in dating, they've got red flags everywhere, and you know they're bad for you, and you know that they don't meet the standards that you've put because you've been hurt previously or whatever, right? You are letting yourself down. You're doing a disservice to yourself. You don't love yourself enough if you're going to let a toxic man, toxic woman, toxic friend, toxic family member, toxic anything, right? Stay in your life and put you down. The reason why they're putting you down, because they know how great you are. They know that once they start recognizing their true self, shit, I'm screwed. Hurt people. Because they don't love themselves, it projects out. I remember when I didn't love myself or appreciate myself, it projected so badly. Like, I literally was just so negative about it. I was like, why should I do this? Why should I do that? Blah, blah, blah. Like, it was so negative. But when you start appreciating yourself in ways that you know, you will feel happier. And once you start feeling happier, it's the most amazing confidence boost ever. When people start saying, oh, you look happier, you are happier. They're like, oh, Manny, you've changed. And they're like, you've changed in such a good way. And that feels really bloody great. So I want you to feel that as well. And at the end of the day, like, I will try and list some things below, and list some things like my TikTok. I've broken it down in TikTok like very quickly, of like quick, fast ways. If you don't want to, go through a detailed version like now, I've broken a quick TikTok video with like ways to quickly boost your self-love and things, like writing positive affirmations, forgiving yourself when you've made a mistake, also eliminating self-criticism and self-talk. Like, we automatically, when you don't love yourself, you always put yourself down and you're always harsher on yourself, and you need to give yourself a chance. Like, for instance, if you start talking to yourself in a third person, like, you'll realize that it's a lot more better. Like, how do I explain this? Right, scratch that. Give me a second. So, for instance, I got a self-love journal, right? And that really helped me. And that was actually, there was an exercise in there that I actually wanted to tell you guys. It was saying about, talk about yourself in a third person. So, for instance, let's say, imagine you're introducing, like for me, it'll be Manny introducing as a new friend. So you would introduce yourself as a friend to someone else. So for instance, let's say, with me, I wrote 3 facts: that she's successful, she's ambitious, she's a very resilient person. And writing it like, man was resilient, man was this, man was that, it felt really nice. And then when I was told how, like in the exercise, it told you, how do you feel about that, I felt really great. Like, I was like, oh. And then when you write on the first person's point of view, that's when we struggle, because we self-criticize and self-talk negatively a lot. So try these exercises and things. And I definitely do feel like you need to invest in a self-love journal. Like, that's going to be so helpful. And that's changed a lot of things for me. Like, when I do feel low, I do tend to go on it. I don't do it regularly like I should, but I have tried, and like listening to empowerment music, watching an empowerment movie, all these things boost up your mood, and you start viewing yourself differently. So you have to look back at all the things that you've achieved and look at the things now and weigh it out, and you'll see that, wow, I have developed, I have changed since then. And you'll start to feel better about yourself, because you're like, well, these are my achievements. What else can I achieve in life? What else can I do? And you'll start challenging yourself, and you'll start, appreciating yourself a bit more, and pushing yourself to better limits, and opening more doors for yourself. But yeah, so this is enough for Manny's motivation. I'm closing it and calling it to an end. I hope everyone's had a lovely day and enjoyed this video. Make sure you like, comment and subscribe. Make sure you follow my TikTok for my cheesy dances. And make sure you follow my Instagram. I hope you have a lovely evening, and bye!